A finale that heartbroken, healed, and left us wanting more. The Summer I Turned Pretty. Wednesdays at 11. Fans of The Summer I Turned Pretty waited for the last episode for that long. Observing Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah orbit one another like emotional planets for 11 exhausting weeks. For my part, I had been anticipating those 11 Wednesdays for Belly and Conrad to once again reunite. It seemed to go on forever. Before the end, each episode gave us hints of what might have been, then abruptly cut it off. I began to question whether Jeremiah and Belly's relationship would ever be resolved because the season focused so much on it. However, it was both everything and nothing I had anticipated when the last episode aired. I screamed at my TV, sobbed, laughed, and once really thought about hurling a pillow across the room. I firmly believe that Jenny Han intended for us to experience that emotional rollercoaster. She crafted a coming-of-age tale enmeshed in heartache, nostalgia, and those fleeting moments that give us life, not just a love story. Seeing Belly develop. Belly was the epitome of awkward teenage uncertainty from the first time she debuted on film. She was kind, indecisive, and frequently too ready to let other people define her. It was both annoying and charming to see her fumble through 3 seasons of love and heartache. But something changed in this last episode. The girl who grieved on the beach between 2 brothers was not the same Belly that we saw in Paris. She appeared lighter, more powerful. Her awful haircut oddly matched her newfound self-assurance. Paris came to represent her independence and her declaration that she was over being stuck. I'm picking myself. I frequently felt irritated by Belly's choices throughout the play. Why did she constantly have to choose between the 2 brothers? Why was she unable to see what was directly in front of her? But I finally got it in this episode. Not all growth appears to be graceful. Before it becomes strong, it might occasionally be dirty and painful. Belly is no longer the bewildered young woman from Cousins Beach. Instead, she has at last come to terms with her identity and desires. And to be honest, that change could be the highlight of the whole performance. The generation-defining love triangle. To be honest, the central theme of the program has always been the love triangle involving Conrad, Jeremiah, and Belly. Also be conflicted if I were Belly. That first love that lingers in your memory forever is Conrad's intense, brooding intensity. When he stares at you, he's the one who makes everything seem to stop. Jeremiah, though? He is consoling. In the event that everything else fails, he is the soft landing. He has the kind of warmth that gives you hope that you won't ever feel alone again. I was unsure of whom to support for the majority of the series. But I was definitely on Team Conrad following Jeremiah's treachery during spring break, yes, that very time. His moment was well earned. I was prepared to applaud when it finally appeared that Conrad might pop the question. The beach, the sunset, and a lifetime of them together was the storybook conclusion I was hoping for. Jenny Han, however, had other ideas. We only saw 10 minutes of Belly and Conrad's happily ever after at the conclusion, rather than an entire hour. After weeks of waiting, 10 minutes. It was insufficient. I wanted to watch them develop, fight, laugh, and get better together. Rather, we were given a fleeting but lovely glimpse of what might have been. But that's kind of how love feels, isn't it, even though it left me wanting more? Bittersweet. Not finished. Actual. Going back to the beach house. It was the ideal, full-circle decision to conclude the series at the beach house. That house is a memory in and of itself, not just a place. Every sand grain and every wall has remnants of the humans who once lived there. They grieved, laughed, fell in love, and bid each other farewell there. I wish Jenny Han had taken everyone, not just Belly and Conrad, back there for a final visit. It would have been satisfying to see all the characters gathered in the location where it all began. Because the beach house is the tale, not simply a part of it. Their summers there turned into pivotal periods in their lives. There, Susanna's presence was always most palpable, and I couldn't help but see her grinning down as everyone returned to the spot she loved the most. The fact that The Summer I Turned Pretty is about more than just romantic love is what makes it so unique. Family, memories, and the kind of love that endures long after summer is over are all important. Everybody grew up, although in different ways. Seeing how much each character had developed was one of the highlights of this finale. Jenny Han showed us everyone's progress rather than only concluding a story. For example, Jeremiah at last learnt to let go. He could have remained resentful after everything that transpired, particularly when Belly chose Conrad. Instead, he matured. He was at peace and even began a new relationship with Denise. Although it wasn't flawless, it was a step forward. And Stephen were also unexpected. Their development was modest but genuine, going from arguing to actually planning their lives together. Their choice to relocate to California seemed like a silent pledge that they were prepared to face the future together, not as children but as partners. And Conrad, who used to keep everything inside, suddenly discovered how to let others in. He was the boy who was unable to express his feelings for a long time. He concealed himself in quiet and cynicism. By the end, however, we witnessed a Conrad who was at last able to be open, vulnerable, and courageous enough to stand up for what he believed in. They all experienced heartbreak and became stronger as a result. This story is more than just a teenage romance because of that. It reflects how individuals change, how love transforms us, and how maturing entails knowing when to let go and when to hold on. A heartbreaking conclusion that seems like real life. Was the conclusion flawless? No. But perhaps that's what gives it its strength. Since we don't often get fairy tales in life, Jenny Han didn't provide us one. Rather, she provided us with a plausible conclusion. Uncertain, complex, and messy. It served as a reminder that summer is short, much like first love. We yearn for it, we live for the freedom and the warmth, and then all of a sudden it's gone. The beauty of things that pass quickly has always been the focus of this presentation. The title, The Summer I Turned Pretty, suddenly strikes me in a different way. Physical attractiveness isn't the point. It has to do with change. About overcoming the painful things in life and discovering self-love even when things don't go as planned. Perhaps that was the point, but this ending wasn't the happily ever after I had hoped for. Pretty doesn't always mean flawless. At times, it's honest, unvarnished, and quite depressing. Why we can't get enough of this story. The Summer I Turned Pretty's profound relatability is one of its many unique qualities. When you realize that growing up entails losing things like friends, innocence, and the simplicity of summer love, it encapsulates that bittersweet moment. It's a tale of firsts, first love, first heartbreak, and the realization that life goes on regardless of how badly you want something. And perhaps that's why fans find it so compelling. Because we've all experienced a belly summer in one way or another. Everybody has stood between what they need and what they want. All of us have had to bid farewell to a phase of our lives before we were prepared. The fact that there will be a movie even though the series is ending gives me hope. Perhaps Jenny Han has more to reveal about the lives of these folks. Perhaps she is reserving one final scene for the big screen. Concluding remarks. Satisfied when the credits rolled, but I did feel a better sense of connection. We were reminded by Jenny Han's world of the joy of first love, the agony of maturing, and the subtle enchantment of discovering oneself. Even though this conclusion didn't wrap things up perfectly, it captured the essence of real life, which is often a mixture of happiness and heartache, endings and beginnings. After 11 Wednesdays, the wait was worthwhile. Summer I Turned Pretty is about all of us learning how to grow up, move on, and cherish summer long after it's over, not just about Belly and Conrad.